Oklahoma Democrats push for inclusion in state budget discussions, details on new state education rule changes, and a centuries-old artifact has been returned to an Oklahoma tribal nation. We'll have more coming up on the KGOU AM News Brief for Wednesday, May 15th. I'm Nick Daniels. Because of Oklahoma Republicans' supermajority, Democrats at the state capitol have little say in the state budget. But a state capitol reporter, Lionel Ramos, says they do have a limited role to play. He spoke to Democratic leaders about how they fit into the legislative budget process.
The governor calling people into a meeting felt special. Democrats aren't at the table, but we're not surprised by that because that's what happens up here, and we see it every day.
That's Senate Minority Leader-elect Julia Kurt. She says Democrats being left out of important budget decision-making is nothing new. Still, while they aren't at the table, either a figurative one or a literal conference led by legislative leaders and the governor, Democrats do have some say on budget matters behind the scenes, during committee meetings, and on their chamber floor. House Minority Leader Cindy Munson says a more active role in state budget making for the minority party is overdue.
Regardless of who is in the minority, I believe it is important that there is a place for the minority caucus to have a voice and to talk about the things that we're hearing in our districts about the needs of our constituents.
Munson says not giving minority lawmakers a voice is a disservice to those they represent. I'm Lionel Ramos.
Staying at 23rd and Lincoln, House lawmakers advanced a slew of administrative rule changes yesterday for the State Department of Education. State Impact's Beth Wallace reports committee Democrats tried 10 unsuccessful amendments to pump the brakes on new rules, which were championed by State Superintendent Ryan Walters.
The department is proposing more than 20 rule changes. They include tying school districts' accreditation statuses to test scores, penalizing districts for continuing to employ teachers under investigation by the department if they later have their teaching certificate revoked, and pulling state funding for districts with diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Tulsa Representative Melissa Provenzano authored several of the Democratic attempts to pull some of the rules from the resolution, but none were successful.
We should not tie high-stakes testing to accreditation. We should not subvert the Teacher Due Process Act. Members, I implore you to listen to your constituents.
The resolution now heads to the House floor. From there, it'll head to the Senate. But if the Senate decides not to take any action, the governor will still get the final say. For State Impact, I'm Beth Wallace.
Last month, Governor Kevin Stitt vetoed the Oklahoma Survivors Act after the measure sailed through the legislature. While the Senate has already overridden the veto, the bill's authors have a new strategy to make it a law. KGOU's Hannah France reports.
House Majority Floor Leader John Echols and Senate Pro Tem Greg Treat announced a new bill containing the language of the Oklahoma Survivors Act, which they expect the governor to approve. The bill originally passed the Senate unanimously before passing the House with a vote of 84-3. Stitt vetoed the bill, citing concerns that the proposed sentencing mitigation for survivors of domestic abuse who committed crimes related to their abuse could create a legal loophole for any criminal to claim they had been abused at some point in their life as a way to get a lighter sentence. According to a press release from the OK Survivor Justice Coalition, Stitt has met with domestic violence experts and survivor advocates and has agreed to sign the new bill. I'm Hannah France.
An artifact more than a century old is back with an Oklahoma tribal nation. More on what it means to bring this lost Modoc item home. We get this report from OPMX's Sarah Lisi.
At the Modoc Nation, Sid Colombe works to preserve her tribe's culture. One way is through seeking out lost artifacts.
We go to auctions, online, virtual, eBay, and the Lex Council has been generous and provided us a budget, and so we're able to buy back cultural items.
Sid is Modoc and a Rosebud Sioux descendant. She says the Modoc Nation has received donated items, but for the most part, they have to buy back cultural pieces. That's why when the Peoria tribe of Indians of Oklahoma returned a Modoc basket, it was powerful.
It is literally, like you said, coming home. The fact that we're able to attain items that are a part of us and a part of our history.
The basket is now on display at the Modoc Gathering Place in Wyandotte. I'm Sarah Lisi.
You'll find more news at our website, kgou.org, and on the KGOU PM News Brief podcast.
Hi, it's Terry Gross, the host of Fresh Air. We bring you in-depth, long-form interviews with actors, directors, musicians, authors, journalists, and more. Listen to our Peabody Award-winning Fresh Air podcast from WHYY and NPR.